It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Rush, choosing to hang out with us and make us a part of your morning routine before you leave the house for everyday life. Now, sometimes when you're going through stuff, you feel like you're the only one who's going through it. Or if you've experienced something and you're like, oh, surely nobody else has gone through this, it's just me. Especially when it comes to heartbreak. Guys, when you have a broken heart, you feel like, oh my God, I'm the only broken-hearted person in the entire universe. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we probably all experience the same form of pain. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But you know what comes when you read a bit more widely is that you start to hear all these other stories and you get perspective on the fact that, you know what, life happens. And these experiences are some of the experiences that we go through in life, but we don't go through them alone. We go through them, somebody else is probably walking around looking as though they've got everything together. Meanwhile, they want to fall apart the same way that you're falling apart. I think that's one of the joys that comes with reading books. And today we are talking about a book with a similar storyline. Now, I am joined by our resident bookworm, Audrey. Audrey, first of all, happy birthday.
Thank you, Candice. I appreciate this.
What did you do to celebrate your big day?
Okay, so my daughters, they took me for Chinese and waffle.
Ooh, I would have joined for the waffles, but the Chinese are going to pass. But did you feel special on the day?
Definitely, I really felt loved.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, tell us, you had an interesting thing about this book that today we're looking at, and apparently it's based on a true story, guys. Ooh. Rudo, I fell in love with the wrong person. Now, this book, tell us a little bit about it. Start off with the authors.
Okay, so the interesting part about this book it was actually co-authored by two authors, Tendai, Dara, and Tanyaradzwa, Guta. So you find that, I know this is a foreign phenomenon for most people, but guys, it actually can be done. 2-3 people can get down and actually come up with one book.
But don't ideas clash? Like, how do you, does it not take forever? Like, because I think for me, collecting my thoughts as an individual and putting them down takes quite a while. Now, waiting on somebody else's process and putting stuff together, like, how does that work?
Remember last time we spoke about ghostwriting?
Yeah.
So I think you also implement the same concept. You've got your themes for your book, and this one is actually a true story. So obviously the themes are just apparent for everyone. Then you structure out your chapters by chapter, and then you revise. And obviously there'll be clashes here and there, but so is life. At the end of the day, you'll get the book ready.
Okay, so these two got together, sat down, came up with this. I probably should ask, but I'm so curious. Is it based on their true story, a true story they heard, a true story they witnessed?
It's definitely not based on that.
Okay.
I'll say this, but this is actually an interesting read. Like you're saying, some people have joked to say that the WHO must actually certify heartbreak as an official disease.
Yes, I agree. I mean, anybody out there who's experienced heartbreak, a broken heart, definitely knows that, you know what, you go through motions of, oh my God, I can't do this, and oh my God, I think I agree. It really should be a sickness. I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so based on a true story, Rudo, I fell in love with the wrong person. Just give us the guideline before we get into it.
Okay, so this book, it takes us back to Chikanga in Manicaland. This girl, she was raised by her mom, who was a vendor. The father had left, and then, so her mom was obviously worried about her and would always warn her about men. But she did not listen. So in high school, she had
as girls often don't.
Yeah, they think they know it all.
Yes.
You know, like Form 4, Form 5, they think they know it all. So she fell in love with the typical, you know, the head boy. And it was actually based on a bet. So she had her first heartbreak in high school.
Wait, no, based on a bet. Did her friends bet her to date? Did his friends bet him to? What happened?
His friends. She was the sharpest girl in school.
Right.
And then so the teacher and actually some of the friends were like, no, if you date this girl, she's going to lose focus on her studies. And then you'll get the top spot in class.
Oh, so it was meant to derail her.
Definitely.
Oh no, that's terrible. And she wasn't smart enough to see that.
No, she was obviously book smart and not street smart.
Which is an actual difference. People don't acknowledge. That's an actual difference. Okay, so tell us how he goes about this process of getting her, according to the book, and the ultimate fallout.
Okay, so spoiler alert, I'm not going to tell you more about that. This was a first heartbreak. She has another heartbreak while in college. So this is the one that's actually the more of the basis of the book. She obviously thought he was the one. After having gone through her first heartbreak, she thought she knew better. But these are matters of the heart.
They know nothing.
No one can ever claim to say they've got an A+ when it comes to matters of the heart.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, of course, clearly, like you're saying, ajna formula, you know, and it's always interesting to see that your first thought is, oh my God, can you have another heartbreak? But how many times have you gone through that in life? Like you and if it sometimes it's not always a romantic heartbreak. It's a heartbreak you experience from the loss of an opportunity you really wanted, an opportunity you really thought was yours, and it flies over your head. Loss of a relationship with a relative, a friend that you really had invested so much in. Heartbreak comes in different shapes and forms. But what are some of the key lessons that come out of this book that we really should be paying attention to when we read?
Okay, so I think you find that the author, Tanyaradzwa, she's a feminist, she's an advocate for women's rights and children. So you find that there's also an issue of rape in the book. There's also an issue of sexual harassment in the workplace, which is very predominant these days. You know, you've got students going on attachment, and you've got other people wanting to take advantage of that. And then there's also the whole single parents raising children, suffering while the father is off somewhere else, living a cushy life. So those themes are also expanded in the book. But ultimately, it culminates with forgiveness and love, and it's a beautiful story.
How do you think these two authors collaborating together amplified the story they were telling us?
Okay, I think like you find with Tendai, I know his background. He was also raised by a single parent. So I think you find that it's so real. This story, it resonates with you because I think it's based on real emotions. Yes.
Oftentimes you'll tend to find that one train of thought will override the other or be more dominant. Do you think they balanced each other out well when they were telling the story?
They definitely did balance it out. And like you're saying initially, it's actually hard to tell and hard to imagine how they even put the book together, two people, but when it's being narrated, it sounds like one voice. Yes.
Now, you've mentioned Tanyaradzwa and a bit of her background and Tendai and a bit of his background. How do you think those backgrounds influenced their storytelling in this?
Okay, I always say that, whatever you go through in life is meant to shape you. It's meant to shape your stories and how you narrate your stories. So it's always a lesson and a blessing. So it actually comes out in this book. And you find that, like you're saying initially, this subject of love, it has no color, it has no race, it has no gender. It's everywhere, and everyone has experienced some heartbreak one way or the other. It could be from parents, it could be from friends, or it could be a lover.
Now, sometimes when I read a book, I tend to get stuck like on maybe a paragraph or a page, and then I'll read through, but it just continues to speak to me, and I'll go back and I'll read it again, and maybe a couple of times, or even it's just a line. Did you have any of those moments in this book?
Okay, for me it was, remember I spoke about the whole sexual harassment scene? So this man actually, he's the one who made advances on the female, but he had the nerve to go to work and report that he had been harassed by this female, and she's a young student, and some people actually believe that. So I had to reread that part. I'm like, what?
Oh, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But in real life, that actually does happen. And often it comes from a place of malice. You'll find that maybe I'm not saying that's what happens here. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it like you. But sometimes you'll find that he's approached her and she's rejected him, and he's upset about being rejected. His ego's feeling bruised. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to make you suffer. And then this turns around, and the woman is then portrayed as the one who is in the wrong. And we see it every day. We see it in our offices. We see it so it's a very relatable point. Why are we buying this book?
Okay, this book, like I said, it's for everyone. It's for the youth, it's for the elderly, it's for everyone to read, to learn and appreciate what other people go through. Because like I'm always saying, you don't know what someone else is feeling unless you've actually walked in their shoes. So this book has got lessons for everyone. And also, like we always say, let's support the Zimbabwean authors. Let's make the writing industry so much of a profession that people can actually just concentrate concentrate on writing and get paid.
I absolutely agree with you. We are getting back to reading. We are getting back to enjoying our literature, and especially our local literature. This is how our stories are passed on. Even if you think it's just fiction, there's a little bit of an element of real life happening in there as well, isn't there?
Definitely. And like from the scenes, you know, Chikanga, the mother's a vendor. Everyone can relate. They know someone who's a vendor out there. Yeah.
And we know these neighborhoods. It may be speaking of one neighborhood, but really we can pinpoint all our neighborhoods in there some way or the other, the environment that we live in. Audrey, thank you so much. Audrey, you've been going to book things without me.
Yes, I'm a bookworm and I'm always at this book event. So next time I should invite you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Take me with you. I also want to go to book things. And if you want to go as well, the best place for you to find out all this information is, of course, to follow Audrey. Audrey, let us know your social media handles.
Okay, Audrey Chirenje Author on all social media handles.
See? So when you want the information of what book stuff is going on around, book readings, book launches, book signings, what else happens?
Book retreat. I had a book retreat in Vic Falls.
Retreat!
We must come and review that book probably next week.
Yes, no, I'm upset because I didn't go to Vic Falls. No, I'm joking. Definitely, definitely do follow Audrey Chirenje all across social media for you to keep up to date with what it is that is going on. And also sometimes you might get a snippet of what we might be discussing the following week. So that is something that you can look forward to. But for this week, our book based on a true story, Rudo I Fell in Love with the Wrong Person. It is a book that was co-authored by Tendai, Dara and Tanyaradzwa, Guta. Something worth getting your hands on if you haven't already.